Hello everybody, it's Vinyl Richie here with What the Fuck number 7. This is going to be my solo Beatles albums. But before I show those, I do have one more disco album. The Richie family. Who would have guessed? Vinyl Richie has the Richie family. Actually, this was VCLT from Richard Riley. Very funny shit. Guaranteed now, that is all my disco I've shown. Now, this is actually going to be my second Beatles video. I made a video maybe a year and a half ago, and it was entitled The John Lennon-Paul McCartney Debate. I think I first had it John Lennon versus Paul McCartney, and it was the video that I thought about the most, pre-planned, or I thought in my head what I was going to say more than any other video I've ever done. Usually I have an idea, but I don't really plan nothing. On this one, I actually had some points I wanted to make, and after the video I watched it and I go, oh, I forgot to say this. But anyways, that was definitely by far the video that was the most planned by me. And I was kind of disappointed that, I mean, if you take the Vinyl Finds video before it and the Vinyl Finds video that I made preceding that video, it probably got half the views, you know. So I was a little disappointed, so I said, you know, whatever. I guess people are not interested in watching Beatle videos from people that were actually there when the Beatles were around. I actually remember watching the Beatles first time on Ed Sullivan. And the reason I made that debate or that video is it was in response to a Me, Mr. Mayo video he made. And it got me thinking, you know, and his video was, you know, he's a John guy, but I guess apparently a lot of people think Paul McCartney's, you know, they prefer Paul McCartney over John Lennon. In fact, so I guess some people think Paul McCartney made the Beatles. Now, I can say without a doubt that anybody that thinks Paul McCartney made the Beatles were not around when the Beatles were around. I mean, there were people that, oh, Paul was my favorite Beatle. I mean, but there were screaming girls that Ringo's my favorite Beatle. But no one thinks Ringo made the Beatles, you know? And I'm not here to say John Lennon made the Beatles. I mean, all four of them together made the Beatles. But without a doubt, and there's no question about it, without John Lennon, the Beatles would not have been the Beatles. They would not have become that. I mean, John Lennon pushed the envelope of he pushed the envelope of music, and he dictated a lot of what music would evolve into. More so than Paul. I mean, Paul was a good jingle writer. But anyways, I'm devolving. Since I'm showing solo Beatle albums here, I thought I would show one Beatle album. Me, Mr. Mail's doing a contest. 5,000 subscribers. Unbelievable. That is a big amount for someone that I consider to be in the VC. There are people that make videos that are music related, vinylized, and, you know, what's that one guy? I can't remember his name now. There's a bunch of them, but I don't consider them part of the VC. They're doing a shtick. They're not being themselves. When you watch Me, Mr. Mail, he's being himself, and he's showing, and he's talking about what he loves, which is the Beatles, and he shows some other wanker stuff. I'm just kidding. But anyways, one of his questions in his contest is, what is the worst album by your favorite band? Excuse me. By far, this is the worst album by my favorite band. If you eliminate the unofficial releases and you eliminate the soundtracks, and that would be Let It Be by the Beatles. By far their worst album. It's not a bad album, but it's, I mean, in all reality, it's demos, you know? And I do have a sealed version of the Naked. There's no point in me opening this. I have it on CD, but I did see this for a fairly good price. And it says $39.98, and I got it for half. And I picked it up also with a sealed copy of the picture disc of Sgt. Pepper, and that one's still sealed. Well, anyways, on to my solo Beatle albums. What the fuck is punk rocker Rich doing with solo Beatle albums, you know? But here we go. First one's Ringo. I think it's just entitled Ringo. Woo! The book. It did come with a book. I'm not going to show that. Don't have time. And, oh, the other thing is, well, I'll get to that when I get to it. This has got to be one of the crappiest gatefolds ever. And it's actually not a very good album cover. But what a lot of people don't realize, in the early 70s, at least in the U.S., Ringo was outselling all the other Beatles combined. And I mean, not combined, but he was the number one seller as far as ex-Beatles. A lot of people don't really realize that, but that's the case. Now, I'm showing these albums, but I'm not showing all of my Ringo albums or all my Beatles solo albums, because I do know for a fact I have Goodnight Vienna, is it? And I couldn't find it. And there's a couple other ones I know for sure I have, but whatever, you know. This is Blast from the Past, his greatest hits, as you were. This is a pretty good set. Now on to my favorite Beatle, John Lennon. This is my original U.S. copy, Live Peace in Toronto, 1969. And I do not have the calendar. I actually hung it on my wall when I was a kid. And this album is a little worse for wear, but I still have it. I don't know why, but I did buy this UK version that's in much better shape. Now, like I said, this is called Live Peace in Toronto, 1969. And I always assumed that John Lennon was the headliner of this concert, and that is not the case. The Doors were actually the headliners. In fact, John Lennon was not even on the bill, I don't believe. I think they just kind of showed up as a surprise guest. And side one of this is fantastic. Side two starts off really great till Yoko starts. Now another one that I know I'm missing is John Lennon, his solo album, where he's leaning up against a tree. That, it's in here somewhere. That is my favorite Beatles or John Lennon album, and it is my favorite Beatles solo album. And this is probably my second favorite Beatles solo album. This is a great album too, Imagine. And it's right there neck and neck with his first one. His first one does have some flaws in it, but the high points are really high. And yeah, this is a good album though. Way deeper cuts than Imagine on here. It's a great album. Now we go on to the next Beatle, McCartney. His first solo album, Gatefold. Pretty good shape. I ran across this one in excellent shape, and I bought it. And my local record store, his price labels are notoriously hard to get off. And trying to peel this one off, I did mess up the cover here a little bit, and that pissed me off. So that made me go on YouTube and look for ways to remove labels, and that's how I discovered Goo Gone. You just dip some Goo Gone with a Q-tip, you soak that label, 5 minutes later it pops right off. But yeah, McCartney's first album, Fantastic. His second album, Ram, probably my favorite by Paul, and probably my third favorite solo Beatles album. Paul McCartney, Ram. His third album, it says Wings, but for all intents and purposes, it's a Paul McCartney album. And it's Wildlife. I actually love this album too. In fact, I think Paul McCartney's first 3 albums are his best. Wildlife. This, even Bit Bop. I love that song. Love is Strange. In fact, I like side 1 more than side 2. I know Beatle fans can't believe that. Now, like I said, the first 3 Paul albums I actually like a lot. And then Paul McCartney laid this turd. This is a piece of shit. Red Rose Speedway. I mean, God, I was so and it comes with a nice book. This actually is a really nice packaging. And it has this book. It's a book. And it might have a few good songs, but meh. This is my next one. Band on the Run. Much better. In fact, it's a good album. But I don't know that I really need to listen to this album anymore. And it's been a while since I played it. In fact, I have a DVD of him in concert at this time, and I play that more than I do this album. Next one I have is Venus and Mars. Oh, and there goes the book. And whatever this is. This again is nice packaging. And that is a nice gatefold. And it's a good album, but I don't know when I'm going to listen to it. And it looks like it has 2 posters. My next Paul one, and I know I'm missing some Paul ones here too, is this Live in Russia one. And this is basically just him doing rock and roll numbers. It's nothing spectacular, but it's not bad. In fact, I thought it was pretty cool at the time. Next one is a bootleg from his 1989 tour. And, yeah, you can tell, I had a friend that saw him on this tour, and Paul McCartney played at the LA Forum. That's where the Lakers used to play at the time. And he said Paul was so personable. He made the Forum, which sits a lot of people. It's like comparable to Madison Square Garden in New York. He made it seem like it was an intimate, you're like in an intimate room with Paul, and he's, playing some songs for you. Great, personable person live in concert. And this is my last Paul one. This is the Only Mama Knows, his Amoeba secret show. And I do have a poster with this one, but it's in the other room. I forgot to get it. Like I said, I'm making these right as soon as I get up. And this is pretty good. That's all my Paul. George. This is the Bangladesh. Let me get a drink here. I'm a pepper. This isn't officially a solo album, but it's his first. I believe this was his first release after the Beatles, and he was responsible for it being released. It's a good album. The DVD is fantastic. I still watch it to this day. And I remember one even. I used to watch a lot of music DVDs. I don't watch them as much now because I'm watching You Idiots on YouTube now. But I remember I was watching a G.G. Allin DVD. And then I put in this one. And it just struck me how positive the vibes were in this show and everything. just in contrast to the negativity in that G.G. Allen show. But anyways, this is a great concert. The DVD, I recommend checking it out. It is fantastic. Bob Dylan, Leon Russell, they're really great in it. One of my favorite parts of this is on side 1 with Ravi Shankar. And he's tuning up and, you know, they tune up for a couple of minutes and then they stop. The crowd breaks out into applause. And he goes, oh, thank you. You know how humble Ravi Shankar. Oh, thank you very much. You seem to enjoy the tuning up so much. I really hope you enjoy the songs. And oh man, I mean that is fucking hilarious. I don't have Paul's All Things Must Pass. I used to have it. It was a victim of my divorce, I'm assuming. But I have it on CD, and I'll get it. It's a good album. It's a little overproduced for my taste. It's just a little too much. I think some of the songs would have been better, a little more stripped down. In fact, probably they all would have been. And that's my take on that. And the third disc, I think, is crap. And this is his second album, I'm pretty sure. This is a fantastic album. I really dig this album. Living in the Material World. Give Me Love, Sue Me Sue You Blues. Side 1 starts off fantastically. His third album, Dark Horse, is it? Yeah. And this is a reissue. I wouldn't mind getting an original of this, but it's not a priority at all. Another good album. Next one I have by George is Extra Texture. Yeah, Extra Texture. This is a pretty good album. It has some good songs. All of George's albums have good songs. 33 1/3 by George. It's a gatefold. Let's see what's in the middle. I forget. Oh, look at this adorable picture of George with his penguin buddy. Somewhere in England. Pretty cool cover. You know, you think it's like some concrete, but it turns out it's a painting. I thought that was pretty cool. Gone Tropo, or Tropo. This actually, I think, is a good album. I like this album a lot. I mean, I don't think any of these are perfect, but this has some good songs. And this is my last George, Cloud 9, which, again, has some really good songs. It had a couple of hits on there, I think. Devil's Radio, yeah, that was a good song. But yeah, George. And I have one more. It's not really a Beatle, but it's the son of a Beatle, Sean Lennon. Into the Sun. This is a really good album. It's kind of subtle. Some people might not like his voice. But yeah, this is a really good album. Much better than Julian Lennon's. Much more experimental, much more original. But yeah, I recommend this. Sean Lennon. Anyways, that's it for this What the Fuck series. I could do one more, but I don't want to piss too many people off. And this whole What the Fuck series was inspired by Ron Haggerty, Metal Ron. He's doing a contest, and he wanted you to show 4 genres. I believe 4 albums from 4 genres, maybe 1 album. And from genres that you don't normally listen to. And I kind of took it a little step further. Not only I don't listen to them that much, but people would be surprised that I even own them or listen to them and or like them. And I'm doing this all in fun. I mean, I love the Beatles. They're, like I've said before, they're my favorite band. And so I'm just, you know, any of you guys that have Beatle channels, I'm just playing. But I mean, honestly, there is a legitimate point to it because some of the Beatles, I think some of the Beatles, in fact, I think most of the Beatles solo albums suck. Um, so that's why I decided to do that. But anyways, take care. I have two albums that I bought maybe 3 weeks ago now. It was definitely before Christmas. Really good psych, not common albums. I don't know if you call them grails, but they're really good. Obscure, more on the obscure side. I mean, the psych heads, they're going to know them. And I'll probably go to the stores this weekend. And I'll probably be back next week with a vinyl finds. Be more of my regular psych, garage, punk, and some classic rock stuff. But take care. I hope you enjoyed this. I'm thinking of doing a contest pretty soon. And I have some ideas. And I think some of them are actually pretty good. But if I don't start getting more views on these what the fuck videos, I think what I'm gonna my contest might be you have to watch each one and you have to make a comment. Take care, guys and gals. Oh no, that one went a little longer than I thought.